Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel for some Smite 2 Closed Alpha 7 data mining. So, of course, Closed Alpha 7 is technically not out yet, at least as of I'm recording this video, and maybe it'll be out by the time I release this video, because it is launching today. But it has been on PTS, we've had quite a few flash tests, and it appears you can data mine from flash tests. So we've got a little bit of Closed Alpha 7 data mining to go over, some new stuff compared to what we had before. Such as the Tales of Arabia Pantheon, apparently, more talents, Medusa and Pele abilities, all that good stuff. As always, as it says here, data mining is often inaccurate. It's a good way of looking at sort of, you know, roughly what hires are working on. It's just data pulled directly from the files. So sometimes you'll find something that's very crystal clear in the files and it's obvious what it's going to be. But a lot of the time you'll also just find random little bits and pieces and you got to try and like piece together the puzzle essentially of like what they're actually working on from like little incomplete bits of files and stuff like that. So it can be inaccurate a lot of the time. So don't take anything that's in this video or in these posts as gospel. It doesn't necessarily mean this stuff is coming. It just means it might be. Or something similar to it might be coming. But with that said, let's jump right in. So I won't be covering all of the stuff that I've previously covered from like CA6, CA5, CA4, all that kind of stuff. I've done that in a previous video. I'll link that down below if you missed that one. But the way these data mining posts are done is they just keep getting added to over time. So a lot of the stuff that I'm scrolling past, it's not stuff I'm like deliberately leaving out or anything. It's stuff I've covered in a previous video. Basically everything in purple is going to be what's new. So there's going to be a new Athena skin, new Cernunnos skin, new Thor skin. But then all the rest of these skins, we already knew they were here, at least from previous data mining from previous patches. So we did briefly cover talents, but there's a little bit of new information on talents in this post. So talents are now renamed aspects in the game files. You can change aspects in the God page. And aspects are a new system Hyros is introducing to Smite 2. This system allows you to choose between two different options that will apply or modify how your abilities behave. So there's sort of like, you know, a way to change your playstyle. You know, maybe you want to change like Bacchus into a full damage dealer or something like that. That seems like kind of the way they're going with talents based on this post. As a new one for Athena, it seems like for the moment we know it only debuffs her ultimate. So I assume there's some kind of like, maybe it debuffs it in a certain way but buffs it in another way or something like that. There's a bunch of other ones here that we went over in previous posts as well. Neath has one, attack speed and int buff stacks up to a max of 6 and breaks weaves. So maybe you don't use your weaves as much for ability damage, but you get a lot of attack speed from this passive and it makes her into more of a traditional hunter potentially. And that seems like kind of the way they're going with these talents, or what they're now going to be called aspects. They're going to be sort of like playstyle changing things that I assume you're going to select pre-game. That seems like what it's going to be. Nemesis works with the shield, does true damage and heals. Thanatos works with the 3 and it seems like you can get max HP buffs on killing stuff. And adds max HP damage scaling to the ability 3 and on the heal on it as well. So it seems like maybe this one might turn Thanatos into more of a tank or a bruiser or something like that. So yeah, that's what it seems like talent slash aspects are going to be based on this data mining. You know, they're going to be some sort of big playstyle changing thing that you probably select pre-game or at least like as you're going into game. But yeah, that's a little bit more information on talents, or as they are now going to be renamed aspects. So that's pretty cool. And I imagine we'll start sort of seeing this stuff in January or like around January once they're done with the push to 50 gods. So that's probably when a lot of the stuff that's in these data mining posts about like new conquest maps and stuff that I covered in my previous video. Probably a lot of that stuff we'll start seeing official information for it around the January timeframe, because at the moment they are just working hardcore on like pushing out to 50 gods. Something that I don't think I actually did cover in the previous video though is Bari. So Bari is going to be the next deity after Aladdin from the Korean pantheon, according to this mining. They're using Neath as a template, physical basic attacks, so probably going to be a physical god, using Anhur's 2 as a placeholder, so maybe something that could like knock people back or stun them if they collide with them or something like that. Ability 4 has death immunity and a deployable that lasts for 5 seconds. It's an area ability. Magical scaling, I assume, means int scaling and some heal scaling as well. So basically no information on Bari. We just know that they're probably going to be coming, at least based on the fact that they're in the data mining. But yeah, as always, with Smite 1, they often threw in, you know, gods into the files without doing much work on them, just to kind of throw people off. I'm not sure if they're still doing that in Smite 2 because they probably have more important things to work on than throwing off data miners. So most likely Bari is coming, but again, these gods can sometimes be inaccurate. We thought that like polar bear god was going to be coming to Smite 2, and it turned out it was Baka instead. So ultimately, it's not confirmed that Bari is coming, but it's pretty likely that he's going to be, or she, sorry, is going to be the next deity after Aladdin. Aladdin, I don't think is one that I covered either in my previous mining, so we'll talk about him here. So he's going to be from the Tales of Arabia Pantheon, which seems like we're going to be getting a new Pantheon for him. He seems to be a support, and then that is crossed out into jungler, so it seems like he's going to be aimed more at the jungle now. The only track about the genie is that he's spawned when returning to the fountain. Aladdin's chain is 5 basic attacks. First 2 are slow and high damage, the other 3 are fast and doing less damage. The basic attacks are a cone. So the passive, 3 wishes. Aladdin's passive grants him a lamp as an item, taking up 1 slot. While in the inventory, it grants 20% of your current build stats. So not your base stats, but stats from your items, it seems like. While in inventory, you can use the item as like an active item to switch your abilities to use 3 wishes. Each wish can only be used 1 time per match, and the lamp takes up 1 item slot, leaving you with 5 items. It can be sold, so after you use the 3 wishes, you're probably going to sell it. Has up to 2 genie charges. I don't really know what that means. The charges are recharged by time up to a max of 2. You can consume 1 charge each time you reuse your abilities to spawn the genie from the ability 1 and 2. And here's some information on the wishes. So wish 1, reclaim. The first wish grants Aladdin immediately 250 gold and a buff that lasts 3 minutes. While the buff is active, killing an enemy or receiving an assist grants extra gold. So basically a wish for wealth. You're going to get an immediate gold bounty, and then if a big team fight happens or whatever and you end up winning it, you could get up to potentially 500 extra gold from this. Overwhelmed, this wish grants you extra movement speed when leaving the fountain. This is a 75% speed buff after leaving the fountain, which is absolutely massive. That's way bigger than you got from like Pyromancer back in the day, or that you get currently from leaving the fountain. And then wish 3 is cooldown reductions. This wish clears the cooldowns from your item actives and all of your abilities, which is pretty cool. So yeah, basically once per game, it seems like you're going to be able to use these wishes, so you got to be very careful on when you do use them. You don't want to waste them or anything like that, but in a big team fight or something, you could like double active items, you could double ults, you could do a lot of different stuff with this cooldown reduction wish. Ability 1, charge shot. You can load this ability for 2 different targeters. The first one is a multi-projectile, and the second one is a single projectile targeter, damaging all enemies that it goes through. Firing the ability early makes it deal less damage, so some kind of charge probably. Waiting for it to be fully loaded increases the damage and scaling. Aladdin can refire the ability again, and the genie will push the projectiles back to him, damaging enemies it passes through. So seemingly sort of a Pele 1 / old Ratatoska 2 style of thing, where they all come back to you after a duration and do damage all the way back. And there's some damage numbers and all that kind of stuff there. Ability 2, flourish, dash forward, damaging enemies through the dash, and you can refire ability 2 after the dash. The genie spawns following Aladdin, attacking the nearest enemy in front of Aladdin 5 times. Ability 3, wall run, which sounds pretty cool. So this is a leap ability. When used, Aladdin runs forward with increased speed. While running, if he collides with a wall, Aladdin climbs it vertically and horizontally. Aladdin can stay on the wall up to 3 seconds while aiming where to land and damaging enemies while landing. This ability has some switch state depending if Aladdin is in genie form, so I guess he can turn into a genie somehow, probably with the wishes. The wishes didn't mention anything about turning into a genie, but yeah, there does seem to be some kind of genie form, so maybe you can somehow do that. Maybe it's part of the ultimate or something like that. But moving on to the ultimate, Aladdin throws the genie lamp forward into an enemy, hitting the first enemy it hits and doing damage. If you hit an enemy, a lamp is spawned on the ground. You and the targeted enemy are transported inside the lamp. The lamp has some kind of towers, which probably will create some kind of Arabic scenario. Once finished, both gods return to the same position. Interesting. So this sounds like a cage match. This is what this sounds like. It sounds like you're going to throw the lamp at someone, you and that god get transported into a 1v1 cage match, and then after a time, you know, if one of you dies probably, or if the time expires, you're going to get returned to the regular map, which I think is really cool. This is something I've always wanted in Smite, to be honest, some kind of like a true 1v1 like cage match style god. And hopefully Aladdin will be a good duelist as well, so this is like a really good ultimate, because if you can 1v1 most of the characters in the game, he can really use this ultimate super well. You know, if he is going to be a jungler, he's going to be an assassin style character that will deal with mages really easily. You could just ult the mage, take them into the lamp, and then they stand no chance against you because you'll be able to 1v1 them easily. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Hopefully Aladdin will be a bit of a duelist. It seems like you also get some kind of buffs when you're in there as well to give you the edge. Moving on though to god release schedule and Smite 1 gods. So the official first 50 god list has been revealed. We know this, added as 50% until their abilities appear or they're confirmed to be in the patch, since it's subject to change. Yeah, they did say on the Titan Talks that like they have revealed the first 50 gods, but they are somewhat subject to change. It's possible that some could get delayed or whatever. So Aphrodite, Medusa, Pele are going to be coming soon. We all know that. Closed alpha 9 in January. We've got Agni, Geb, Mulan, and Ula. Closed alpha 10 January 2nd. Or January 2, not January 2nd. So yeah, the second wave of gods in January. We've got Aladdin, Achilles, Kabrakan, Humbas, Rama, and Vulcan. So this is all stuff we knew already, but the after the first 50 gods list is interesting. So the following list are gods that are already in the files, but are expected to get into the game after January once we hit 50 gods. So essentially, this list here are what you're going to be looking at after we've finished the push to 50 gods. So there's a lot here. Absolutely, there's a ton of gods here. You can have a read through, pause the video if you want to. But overall, I think this is a relatively solid list. You know, we've got some good solid gods that I think should be in the game, like Wukong, Mulan, Merlin, Yana, Kuzenbo, Horus, Geb, Ganesha, Discordia, Cthulhu especially, or Wheelix especially. Artemis is a really good one as well. But then there are a couple that do scare me a little bit. Mainly Freya. I feel like Freya is already in the files is kind of nuts. I really hope they do some kind of full rework for Freya. If they're not going to rework her, I would like her to be released pretty much dead last, because she just completely breaks the game, man. Especially with Fatalis currently being in the game. Like, if Fatalis wasn't in the game, they could maybe release her how she is. But even still, it's such a polarizing design, and without Fatalis, she'd probably be bad. So, honestly, I hope they do a full rework for Freya when they do bring her over. But yeah, she is already in the game files, which is interesting to me, because they've not really been putting too much work into gods that would take a lot of work to port over, at least at the moment. So that makes me think maybe they've started development on Freya as like a regular Freya without a rework. I don't know, dude. I really hope they do give her a rework, though. But other than that, honestly, there's a couple other ones here that I probably wouldn't have brought super early, but I understand why they are there, like Changa, like Hel, like Arplash. Like, I don't like these gods, but they are kind of important playstyles to get in the game, I think. So honestly, Freya is like the main one that I'm concerned about on this list. Other than that, I think everything else is pretty good. And then we got some delayed gods here as well. Arthur, Hui, Kali, and Ratatoska. So yeah, Hui and Kali, and also technically Arthur, we kind of already thought were going to be coming in the first 50. And it seems like they have been delayed. Kali, I'm very happy was delayed. Ratatoska, Arthur, and Hui, honestly, I would have been fine with them coming in like the first 50 or shortly after. I think they're all reasonable picks. Especially Arthur and Ratatoska, I think would have been great to get into the game early. So it's unfortunate they got delayed, but it's possible they're planning bigger changes for some of these gods. Moving on though, we have Medusa. So Medusa is going to be coming very soon in the Medusa, Aphrodite, and Pele patch. We're getting Thor, Poseidon, and Cupid today as of this video recording. So then in about 2 weeks time, we'll be getting Medusa, Aphrodite, and Pele, and we've got some kit information here. They're clearly already, you know, mostly developed within the game already. So the passive is the same. The ability one is the same, but you do get some strength scaling on the attack speed that it gives you, which is interesting. So if you're going to be building Medusa full ability base, which is probably what you're going to do, that's what you did in Smite 1, at least towards the latter end of it. So you're going to get a little bit of extra attack speed based on strength scaling. And each successful Viper hit on an enemy god reduces the cooldown of this ability by 0.5 seconds. I'm not sure if this is in Smite 1. I don't think it is. It might be a new mechanic. Ability 2 is basically unchanged. It still has the anti-heal that they moved from the 3 to the 2 a while ago in Smite 1. Medusa, yeah, it will still explode on Medusa statues as well. The main thing here is that this now has int scaling. And 75% int scaling at that, which is nothing to scoff at. So it seems like Medusa is going to have some solid ability int scaling, so she could make good use of items like Soul Reaver, maybe even Gem of Isolation or something like that. So that's going to be really interesting. Ability 3, basically unchanged, other than the fact that it deals a little bit of int scaling. And then her ultimate also has substantial int scaling. This does 90% int damage if they're facing you, 76% int damage if they're not facing you. So this could absolutely be pretty chunky with a maximum int build, or you could go a mixed build. You could go Book of Thoth Transcendence, and then, you know, maybe grab a Soul Reaver and a Gem of Isolation, and then some other strength items like a Crusher and a Heartseeker or something like that. Seems like she's going to be very good with mixed scaling kind of a build. Also, this seems new. When a statue is destroyed, the cooldown of Lacerate is reduced by 5 seconds, and you gain temporary strength and intelligence both, and a permanent stack of strength and intelligence. So yeah, there's actually an incentive to destroy your own statues now as Medusa. So if you like create a statue and you've used your dash to maybe get in, it's got like 6 seconds left on the cooldown, you can destroy that statue and basically get Lacerate immediately back and be able to either dash out or dash in to chase another kill, which is pretty interesting. But other than that, the ultimate is mostly unchanged from Smite 1, still does the same thing. Moving on to Pele though. So Pele, the passive seems unchanged. You just gain strength and lifesteal. This effect has a cooldown. Ability 1 also appears basically unchanged, fully strength scaling. I think Pele in general, at least according to this data mining, is going to be full strength scaling. And I imagine this data mining is probably relatively accurate at this point. These gods are going to be coming in 2 weeks. They're almost certainly playable internally. We'll probably be able to flash test them relatively soon. So I think all of this information on Medusa and Pele is likely 100% accurate. B2 still does the knockup, still does strength-based damage, but activating this ability again while in the amplified state of Magma Rush will cause you to dash a short distance before erupting. So this is a new mechanic. It's going to give Pele a little bit more of a way to get in rather than just like straight up 3ing and W keying at people. if you now have your 3 active and you go for the 2, you can do a short dash to get in there. So you maybe don't have to ult in or blink in or whatever. You can use this dash to get in instead. Ability 3 seems to be mostly unchanged. It still has the amplified movement speed and all that stuff, amplified damage. And then the ultimate also appears to be mostly unchanged. So yeah, really the only major change Pele has gotten based on this data mining at least is this dash when you activate her 2. But honestly, I think it's fine because Pele is a really good design anyway, in my opinion. And I don't think she would have... I mean, she could have worked within scaling, but I think she's perfectly fine as a strength scaling only god as well. Like, yeah, she has a lot of elemental aspects. She has, like, the lightning on her ultimate, and she has the fire on a lot of her abilities, or basically all of her abilities. I think she could have benefited from some in-scaling, but I don't think it's necessary. I think she'll work perfectly fine as a full strength god. But yeah, that's about it for this update on the CA7 data mining. We've got Pele's kit, we've got Medusa's kit, we've got some information on what gods are going to be coming, you know, shortly after the first 50. Obviously, there's a large list here. Some of these will be coming much later than some other ones. But this is generally what you're going to be looking at for the next gods coming after we complete the first 50. We've got some Aladdin info. We know that Barry is coming, or at least we think that Barry is coming as well. We've got a little bit more information on talents and aspects, which is going to be really cool. This new conquest stuff looks really awesome as well, but I did cover this in my previous video. So if you want a little bit more information on what I think about this new conquest layout and jousts and stuff like that, you can check out the previous video that I'll link below. And a couple of new skins that we know are going to be coming as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know I was a little bit late on covering this one, but I didn't realize it had actually come out for Closed Alpha 7 because the patch isn't even out yet. But yeah, as I said at the start of the video, we've had quite a few flash tests, and it appears you can data mine the flash tests as well. But yeah, what do you guys think about this data mining? You excited for the gods that are coming after the first 50? You excited for Aladdin and Barry if they end up coming? And talents and all that good stuff? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.